Okay, thank you.
So, if I open up a folder in here, so in order for a folder to be included in your accounting report, you need to have a financial transaction against that folder. Okay? So, I retrieve this folder. This folder this is our database we're in, which means that we can go around and do things and it doesn't really matter. Looking at this folder, you can see that this folder has been invoiced, it's been received. Every tab a green dot, which means it's a happy folder. And on the bottom right, I've got my financial figures in here, which appear to match these financial figures down here. So, there's a financial transaction in this folder. So do expect there to be an I record which is generated, which is going to go into your accounts posting routine. Do you know where to see if there is a financial transaction in an item?
I can't remember. If you just click on it, it shows on that you clicked on one of the lines.
Yeah.
It's got a record, hasn't it?
When we retrieve an item in the pricing, if we click on retrieve, from office perspective, we're only ever talking about the first tab. You've then got the vendor payment tab, and you've also got the financial transaction tab. Okay? So the financial transaction tab, which is available on any iRecord, any pricing line, will tell you where there is a financial transaction, which we know because there's a green dot, and it will tell you what kind of transaction this is. So this is telling me here that there's an invoice that's been generated. Okay? The end date is automatically stamped when I issue the invoice, because the setup that I have in Dolphin is not allowed to backdate invoices, I'm not allowed to backdate credit notes, and so as soon as I generate an invoice or a credit note, I'm going to get an accounting date that's generated in the system. Okay? It confirms the name of the staff that generated the item, and it will also reconfirm the pricing on that line, so buy, commission, and sell. Okay? Because this financial transaction is generated, it means that from an accounting perspective, if I was going to be running reports, anything like that, I would see this item. Okay? Okay, so if I open. Okay, on this, would there to be any financial transactions on this folder, and therefore would you expect the accounting reports to pick up the items in this folder? Absolutely. So it's a basic concept, but it's a very important concept, because if you're trying to work out why stuff isn't appearing in reports, it could very well be because it hasn't been invoiced or it hasn't been credit noted, but that will highlight where you're different. Okay? What's highlighted in your accounting figures at the bottom here, because on this folder my total payable is 352,140, but in my accounting figures it's nothing at all because I haven't invoiced, so the two haven't updated. So for me to be able to have this included, I would just need to issue an invoice, and then the accounting figures would be updated and they would see the transaction. Okay? Any questions?
No.
Okay, so, customer payment reconciliation. Okay, so. Okay, so the handout that I've basically goes go through the full configuration, okay? So it starts with customer payment reconciliation on page 2 of the handout, and it's a security profile, okay? And it basically, the way this document works is it has security settings that be needed to be enabled, although to be fair, you shouldn't necessarily need to change your security settings, just for a while anyway, but it has your security settings and then talks about how the functionality works up. There are 2 different first security setting that is talking about is in the financial section. Yep.
Sorry to interrupt. That's really bad. Are you moving around mic or?
It's not me, it's coming from someone else.
Right, okay. Do you want us to mute until you to mute because I'm finding it difficult to hear. I don't know anybody else.
Mostly.
Do you want to mute your phone downstairs?
Oh. Yeah. Okay. The security, just to mention them to you. So your security settings. So in the financial section, there is a security setting on the financials tab, which is called Can Edit Receipts and Refunds. Okay. So this is a setting that is enabled. It means that you can go in and update the amount that's been keyed into a receipt before we reconcile it. So if somebody's put through a receipt and they said that the customer is paying $950 and it turns out they've paid $954, that value will be over time. Obviously, if you've issued a receipt to the customer saying they paid the wrong amount of money, then you may very well need to do a refund and then reissue a receipt with the correct amount of money. But this is basically talking about the ability to be able to modify the values in the receipt if need be. Okay. So then underneath that, the next page, the setting that it's talking about, the reconciliation tab. And again, so these would be enabled for you anyway, but you have the customer payment reconciliation at the top. And so the first setting is about whether or not you're allowed to reconcile and whether you're allowed to unreconcile. And then under that, you've got the different transactional payment types that are enabled. Okay? So the key in here is that you want to make sure that you are allowed to reconcile all the different forms of payment that you need to. Other forms of payment, which are different codes that can be created. If you create a new code, you need to go here and enable being able to reconcile that payment code. Okay? If you don't enable that, what will happen is when you go into customer payment reconciliation and you look at the list, you'll have a payment type which you are not able to reconcile, but it's showing to you. So basically, the select box, which we'll see in a bit, is for you to be ticked. So that's the reason why that might happen. Okay. So I'm now talking about going into customer payment reconciliation. So I go back into Dolphin and bulk operations, customer operations, and then customer payment reconciliation. Okay, so need to do the payment reconciliation in here. I would like somebody to volunteer to do it from either Danielle, Rebecca, or Carol with a location.
Okay, so somebody's volunteered, guys. So yeah.
Okay, whoever's doing it, I need to pass control over to. So what location am I?
No, sorry, I think it's in corner user 5. I think that's the one.
Do you want me to pass it to Danielle?
Danielle, it's to the board, so to Kate. So Rebecca's downstairs.
Right. So see you get a checkbox to say that you can take control.
Yeah. Take control, yeah. Okay. That's all you want me to reconcile.
Right. So,
It's been read.
sorry? So we're going into customer payment reconciliation. So I was just showing you the folders to show where financial transactions are generated because it's quite a key element of accounting. Make sure that you know how they're generated and therefore you might have problems with running reports at a later stage. Customer reconciliation, which is what we've gone into, is just a separate section of the accounting process. So I opened up the customer payment reconciliation window by going into bulk operations, customer payment reconciliation, and we've got the window open now. Okay?
Yes.
So when you are reconciling, so who normally do customer payment reconciliation? Yeah?
I do.
Perfect. So when you're customer payment reconciliation, so obviously this is a training environment, so some of the information is going to be slightly different to what you normally have. What would you normally update in here?
Sorry, say that again. Sorry.
What values would you normally update, or what fields would you update in this window?
If I'm receiving and it's back, I just untick every payment type except for back. Put down during say today, I'll put today in and then I press search and it'll bring me all transactions what I've received and then go into it from there and reconcile it.
Cool. So as I said, this is the training database. We don't have quite as many transactions as you do running on a daily basis in our system. So normally we would Andrew, so do you reconcile all branches at the same time, or you do branches separately?
Depends if it's a credit card one, and there's others, so I'll put them together and I'll reconcile them together. That's what I do, reconcile together.
And then everything's done on a branch by branch basis.
Yeah.
Okay. I need to use different references in different branches?
Yeah. There's a reference for every single transaction. We'll just change it into the chain and the reconciliation part. You just change it. But if it's back, just put the back in, so it just brings that up.
Yeah.
And cash is cash if we have it. And that's what the credit card and all that is normally to provide what's coming.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. So your top left-hand side of this window, you've got your branch codes as an option. So you can click on the button that says codes, and it would then allow you to filter branches if you only wanted to search for transactions in specific branches and getting all the transactions returned on the next page. You also have an option underneath then to specify the transaction type. So by default, it will return all receipts and all refunds. If you were just looking for receipts or refunds, you can specify the specific one. And that you've got your reconciliation status. Default, when you go into here, it will look at unreconciled, but you can choose to look for reconciled items instead. And then at the bottom, you've got your different payment types. So if you are looking for one payment type only, you can deselect any payment types that you don't want to be returned and look for the specific payment types that you're after. Kind of next column along at the top, you've got your date range. So you've got on and a to date. We would normally recommend that you leave the from date blank. By leaving the from date blank, what you can do is then mop up if any transactions have been missed at any point previously. If you always do a date from, say, today to today, if anything happens that a transaction's missed, it's going to stay missed. Okay? In the training database, we are very bad at reconciling as well. So I would recommend putting a date in the front as well as the to, or we'll get far too many transactions. So in the from field, can you type Y Yankee in there and it'll do a year ago from today?
Yeah, we did them actually. T today, D's yesterday.
So have control of the screen.
Yes, I think she wants you to put them away. Okay, I'll let you in control. Oh, okay. Driving. So put white.
Yeah. And do up until today, so T for today. Can't remember what things we've loaded. If you click the search on the top right hand side, and it will just pull back all receipts and refunds over the past year. Lovely. Okay. So as the results come through, we can see that there are 43 items that have been returned. We know that there's 43 items that have been returned because on the bottom right hand side it says total items and then 43 now. That says selected is 0, so you can easily see how many items you're selecting as you go through. At the bottom, kind of slightly right to the middle, you've got the total value of receipts, the total value of refunds, and the total value of receipts less refunds. Okay? In the ideal world, if values are being compared to the statement or wherever you're seeing the money coming in, on that, it says the total amount of items is 43, and the total value of receipts less refunds is 100,596.92, then we could reconcile the whole lot. It's really that simple, and there are all sorts of extra tweaks and things like that might need to be made. So, you have, so in this window, and the columns are spaced badly or you can't see everything, you can just click into a header and then do Control-A on the keyboard and it will auto-fit the keyboard for you, okay? Rather than you having to drag all the columns left and right. If the columns which have information that you don't see value from, there's never any content in there, you can always squish the column so that you don't see that anymore. So the information that is shown on this page, you've got your folder branch and then your folder number. Have the banking branch and then the name of the person that paid. You've got the transaction, the staff that processed it, and the payment. You have a card payment, so you do stuff on PXP, as I understand it, I think.
No.
As a company, you take on PXP.
As a company, yeah.
Yes, perfect. So with PXP, it would mean that C column would have your 2 card codes. Total sequence number is applicable. You've got your currency. So here, what we can see in this display is you've got bracket B, which means branch, telling you all sterling or GBP prices, and then you've got whether it's a receipt or a refund. Negative is a refund, positive is a receipt. The to-my display is actually a foreign currency item. So it says the currency, so euros, and then how much that receipt amount is. Then you get your receipt number. EXP column is telling you whether or not the items have already been exported. So exported into accounting software. And then sell column, which allows you to select the items. When you see, it will automatically record your staff code, the date that you've reconciled, and also the reference that you used to reconcile. So if you to be able to select any of these items to reconcile them, you need to put in a reference at the bottom. So the reference at the bottom, you have this as a specific format already, which is a series of numbers followed by the account it's going to, is it? Or the method of payment the customer's paid you. Where are the series of numbers coming from? Interest?
We've got a receipt sheet with the number, so we go back to that and we got the line number. And that's what it is. It's easy for us to find the line number.
Okay. So, for the purposes of this, can you put in a reference, please, in that reference field? Yeah. So, and out of interest, how often do you do your payment reconciliations? Are they done daily?
Every day, mostly. I do mine anyway. I think XP is it once a week, Danielle?
It's once a week, yeah.
Do you do from a reconciliation date point of view when you're doing it once a week?
The date that it still hits the bank. So you can still get your downloads for it daily, but rather than repeating the task every day, it's done one week just because at the moment there's not that much on there. So it goes by the same concept that we use the line reference from the cash book and the date that actually hits the bank and we match it up.
So in principle you would have your big long list and you'd put in the first reference and date, select the rent items, reconcile, and then again putting in an update.
Move on to the next. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect. Excellent. Okay. Cool. Right, so right. So the reference is in, and then the reconciliation date, which 28th of May is the default, or Tuesday is the default reconciliation date. Whatever that reconciliation date is basically going to be your accounting date. So when you're running reports targeting accounting, that's the date the system's going to look at, okay? For the purposes of this, I'm happy for it to be the 28th of May, unless you have an objection with it and wanted to change it to like yesterday's date or another date. So, having had both those values entered in, so the reference and also the date, we need to select some or all of those receipts to be able to reconcile them. Okay. So you either want to tick the select column, select checkbox for the some payments that you want to reconcile, or you can click on the select all on the bottom right hand side to select the item.
I can do this and it doesn't do nothing. You're not going to, yeah, we're going to try and do well, that's right. We can select. I'll just select one.
Yeah, we don't do this in your database once you're live.
There you go. And then reconcile.
Perfect. So, to be fair, you're probably already seeing. Anyway, as soon as you reconcile one item, the select grey blue as such, so you can't select that row anymore. But if you look at the bottom, you are then able to change the reconciliation reference and also the reconciliation date if you're in multiple days in one batch. Okay. So, questions on that element? So, if you come out of the payment radiation window, so you can close it down, and then we'll go into reports to report on what we've done. So, reports, advanced reports.
The recent refunds report you do?
It is.
Yeah.
So, we would normally do the receipts and refunds reconcile. It should be one below that one. Okay, keep going then. The refunds report. So there are 4 versions of the receipts and refunds report. You've got your receipts and refunds report, and you've got by day, by folder, and reconciled. Other than the by folder, they're all basically looking at the same kind of data and doing the same kind of thing. The reconciled hyphen by day, all they're basically telling you is different ways that the report is subtotaled. So the refunds report hyphen reconciled is subtotaled by your reconciliation reference. So the reference you put in when you reconcile the item. Okay? The report highlighted, at the bottom you would want to put in the period that we want to run this for. So the 4th wheel down is a date. Accounting date is basically what we put into that report, and we're accounting for today. So between T and T. just caution telling you there's going to be lots. There's not going to be lots. Just say yeah, and then select window as the output. Perfect. So what we can see on this item is that the reference that you put in is on the top left-hand side in that preview. And then in the report itself, what you have is the reconciliation reference that's been put in. It would then list any refunds by any receipt, and it also subtotals by the payment type and the branch. Okay? So you get totals going along, obviously all of the values are the same, and then you get a grand total at the end of all of the transactions that have come through. Okay? So, ideally, because you've done your payment reconciliation and you're comparing the payment to something, so like you're looking at the your statement or information that's coming through from your accounting software to double check the information is correct. By the time you hit this point, your value should be correct and you shouldn't need to change them. If you this report and establish that there is something wrong, firstly, you can go directly into the folder from this report by double-clicking on the folder number. In this report, we can see that we've got a branch code HQ, and then to the right of it, we've got folder number 10140. If you double-click on the folder, if you view the amount that's been recorded in the refund, it's a refund that we were looking at. You need on the refund button, retrieve that refund. So, at the bottom of the refund, you can see reconciliation details. So it's who's reconciled it, when, and what the reference is. What that then means is at the moment, this refund can't be edited. Okay? Because it's concerned, people should be able to come into here to overtype information and things. If our information was wrong and we needed to change it, what we need to do is to come out of this refund.
Go back in the racking.
Yeah, close this folder down, and the customer payment reconciliation. So bulk, customer operations, customer payment rec. Okay, so looking for reconciled, the easiest thing I think to do is to look by transaction number. So the transaction number is 1563 1563, so it's just looking for that number. Change the transaction type to refund, we won't get the receipt that's going to be in the database somewhere as well. So top left, yep, that's it. Okay. So we found payment that was reconciled. At the moment, the system's looking to reconcile, which is the reason why select is blued out as such. So, yeah, change the action to unreconcile. We are able to select the item and unreconcile it. Proudly telling you it's actioned an item. So now what we want to do is we actually want to edit those details. So we can edit that refund from this window by clicking on the payment details button. It takes us directly into the refund. Where the fields were blue, greyed out before, we've now got editable. So you can change who the payment method to, so the receiver, that method option can be changed, this refund amount can be changed, and at the bottom, the reconciliation details are no longer in there. Okay? So change this refund amount to another type. So where it says this refund, just key a different value. Okay. This refund amount at 300, type of value in there. So to save this, we want to click on OK Print. No, because we're just processing it through.
It's linked up, that's all.
Yeah. So that error is, sorry, just at the bottom of the page it was saying there was a linked amount of 300 and an unlinked amount of minus 100. Yeah, absolutely what you've done. By clearing and resetting, the system automatically refreshes and it knows where to allocate. Okay. You can now see in this reconciliation window your refund amount is minus 200. When you change the action back to reconcile, you would pop back in your reconciliation reference. So in principle, this matches the number that you put in before. The same reconciliation date as before, and then you want to set the item to reconcile. Cool. So if you hover over, so I have my toolbar on the right-hand side of the screen, which annoys a lot of people. Right at the bottom of the icons, you should see dolphin, an icon on my toolbar. So you can see that you've got the receipts and refunds report that's still open against Dolphin. So if you click onto that, and so here at the moment it's showing the original amount that we recorded. So yeah, absolutely. Click on refresh. It's automatically pulled through updated information from the folder. So in principle, this should now match whatever we're comparing this to, which means that our customer payment reconciliation is working properly and done with it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. In classroom training, I take silence as a good thing. It's a little harder in remote because it might also mean that your phone line's dropped out. Do we want to go through it again? Does anybody else want to go? No?
No, it's all good.
Okay, right. So, let me just... Oh. Okay, I'm going to close that report down. I'm going to close that window down. Okay, so... So what we've done is highlighted on here, so it's highlighting the elements, it's highlighting the results, and then it repeats the process underneath, so how you do it, and then also the supporting reports for that. Okay. We go on to vendor payment and vendor payment reconciliation. Okay. So, the information in your supplier profiles varies. Cool. Okay, so in your supplier profiles, do you use this payment method button?
Don't know that when you do your vendor.
I don't use that.
So in a vendor profile, you have the option to basically tag a associated to a supplier, which means rather than doing vendor payment reconciliation and searching on a profile by profile basis, you group suppliers together. Okay. So when you get the Dolphin system, you'll get it with default, so like you've got caps payments, backs payments, and things like that. You can add any codes you like in here. So if you've got 3 suppliers that are all coming same payment method, in principle you could put a payment method in there, which means when you're doing your vendor payment reconciliation search, you just search 3 times for different suppliers. You would just look for what payment method is linked into their profile.
Yeah.
It can also be used if you've got profiles. You could put a link in there, so we'd get the results coming through at the same time. So from perspective, the other element is your financial one term. You put in payment terms in your supplier profiles. The ones I looked at, you don't. The only reason I'm asking is because you can run things like vendor payments due reports which will tell you you're due to pay a supplier. The Dolphin system assumption is that if you haven't got payment terms in there, that you will pay the supplier on the start date of the holiday. So over running the vendor pay due report and wondering how it's managed to calculate the values, that's basically what it's doing. In payment terms for specific suppliers that need to be paid before then, so that you're able to forecast the payment terms that are coming through. Okay. You anxious? Do you use write-backs as a functionality at all? Or write-backs are?
I don't know.
So basically the write-backs, because it works here and there's also a vendor payment setting as well. A write-back is where you have a supplier that never invoices or never asks you for money for a service that they're providing. Unfortunately, there's been DMCs that have done it, so you might book transfers in a resort and they've never gone to actually billing you for it, which means at some point you need to recognise that amount of money as no longer being a cost to your business and moving from cost into profit. So rather than you doing weird pricing entries in an item to be able to move it around, the functionality that Dolphin offers, which means that you can tag it, you can report on it, and also by this setting which says no days after items start to allow write-back, it's an either managing to do it 2 days after the booking's gone as opposed to waiting the 6 months, however long you would normally wait. Right. Another element to point out in your supplier profiles is around your financial 2 tab, which you appear to be using to some extent or another. So what I've seen is you have some suppliers you have no VAT enabled at all, which would make sense for the selling. Suppliers you appear to have VAT enabled but no default values. So I would assume that when it's applicable, the user needs to put in the T code, so A for standard rate and so forth. And you'll have suppliers where the VAT will automatically be pre-filled when it comes through. Right?
That's right.
Excellent. Always good. Dolphin's doing what you're expecting it to, because you things the way you expected them to be low. The handout then goes on to the setup to do vendor payment reconciliation. For vendor reconciliation, your security settings have the option to be able to manually reconcile vendor payments. You can manually unreconcile vendor payments. You can sell oversell, so when things have gone wrong and they're not paying you as much money as the holiday's costing to you or it's costing to you. When reconcile write-backs, and then you've also got this vendor balance payments possible. Okay, so you use that either vendor balances can be paid to suppliers always, when the item has been invoiced, when the item has been invoiced and is fully paid, or the customer has been with you. Make sense? Yeah. Any questions? Yeah. Okay, vendor reconciliation. So are you all done now?
Most of us, yeah.
Okay, and how are you doing that? Are you getting invoices that come through and then making payments based on the invoices and search criteria? Are you paying anybody in advance, so it's on reporting rather than on an invoice coming through?
No, I normally do it on invoice or stand.
Okay, yeah. So basically, they put something in writing telling you that you need to give them money, and at that point that you're processing it. So obviously, you've got your BSP lady who does the BSP reconciliation or auto BSP reconciliation. So for your other reconciliations, is it all done through this window and search criteria?
No, could we do the auto rec for the vendors as well?
Okay, so which suppliers out of interest have you got on auto rec?
Mainly, there's a few, but mainly Travelscape.
Okay. And for them, send you through an Excel file that you then convert into a format that it can be put through AutoRec to reconcile for you?
Yes, that's right.
Perfect. Okay. And who does the AutoRec?
Yeah, Rebecca.
Rebecca. Perfect. Okay, so for other sides, it would be done through manual reconciliation as opposed to...
Yeah, some of them. If it's a larger statement, I will auto-rec.
That's what basis you would create.
Yeah.
So, is auto-recking and creation of a file to go into Dolphin, is that something that we need to go through?
I don't think the others will know it all.
Is what I'm wondering.
Yeah, that's fine.
Right, cool. That's fine. So what to do is I'll put that on to next week. We can do an auto-rec, that's fine. Or yeah, basically the taking the data, converting it into a file, and then auto-recking. Of interest, when you auto-rec, what do you normally do? Is it the confirmation reference?
The supply vendor confirmation reference. That, yeah.
So, payment reconciliation then. Okay, so I need somebody to take over control of the screen, so I pass control back again.
Go on, Beck.
What are you doing?
Shouldn't have put them together.
Well, that's what it is.
Chris was on the phone earlier. We went to read the phone. He's not all off.
Yeah.
Carol to the rescue.
It's not Sarah's about sharing.
Click on our screen, take
Oh,
control.
right, okay.
Have I the wrong one?
I know, blood. Manuscript.
Okay, so at the moment it's on Carol as such has got access. So do I need to move it from there to Rebecca or? Right. Okay.
Not that far.
Minimise them all.
Sorry, I'm trying to back the screen bigger.
That's it. Oh.
What?
You, good for you. Oh, the top of the thing.
Okay. A folder.
Well, we'll do by supplier. So, your financial vendor and itinerary vendor on the top left-hand side. What's the difference between a financial vendor and an itinerary vendor?
It depends. What one will be the main supplier, and the other would be the hotel normally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So financial vendor is whoever you're paying. Itinerary vendor is what your customer knows. So sometimes it's the same, but itinerary vendor should be what's on documentation to your.
Yeah.
Just underneath that financial vendor and itinerary vendor, you've got a box that says payment method. So that payment method box matches up to the vendor profile field that I talked about earlier. You have the option to narrow down in here, depending on how you're trying to reduce your criteria. So you can search by folder and branch. You can look by specific passenger. You have on the very bottom left-hand side your payment status. So by default, it's always going to look for unpaid and part-paid items. Anything that's been fully paid is not going to be looked at in the searches. It means that either if you paid nothing or you paid a deposit, then the search will kick in. If you need to change that, you can do. And then on the right-hand side, kind of the key element is your date and duration filters. So you search on due date, the date, departure date, creation date, when the segment starts, or the vendor invoice date, or also number of nights. So the items subject to what you've got loaded into the reservation, and also the criteria that the supplier is specifying that they want items to be paid. Just what would you normally use in your data filters?
I've normally put like a financial vendor in there, and then I would put the departure date just so it doesn't bring so many results through.
And you normally put dates in both fields, or do you leave a field blank? Okay. So similar principle to the customer payment reconciliation. From a vendor perspective, would recommend that you have, recommend when using the system that you would leave the first box blank, so there's no date in the up to, and then you put a date in the second box, so it would look for everything as such up to a certain date. So like we had 28th of May in the second box, it would mean it would be looking for everything for that supplier which has got an outstanding payment. My understanding from your database is that you will possibly get quite a few results back, depending on what you're searching.
Yeah.
So, so out of interest, so what are you? Items that are not being vendor reconciled or anything like that at the moment? I mean, as in old items, are you just seeing and having nothing done with them, or is there an aim to tidy up at some point?
Let's tidy up.
Okay. I had a call with, I think it was with Kerry quite a while ago, and it was an SP report that standing payment. It just seems a very large figure. That's all. Then I like things like not nice and tidy, which isn't very helpful on a business scale, at least. Sorry. Anyway, right. So we're going to search in here. So in the financial vendor, can you put in via for me, please, or via VIA? Oh, and take the bottom option. So we haven't put any date filters in here, which to be fair is fine because there won't be that many. But because we've put no date filters in here at all we've done is put in the name of the supplier and then press search. Will be every single outstanding item, whether the payment is due now or the payment will be due at some point in the future. Okay. Same principle as with the customer payment reconciliation window. If you have columns which are not spacing properly, you can always do a Control A, having clicked on the headings, and it will auto space them for you. Otherwise, you drag them around to get them to fit properly. Okay? You have the column is about which branch is being shown. The branches the reservations have been created in. You've got the folder number. Type is the type of product that's been sold, so that's your product code. Ticket or voucher number will appear if it's present in the reservation, and then you have confirmation number if that's present in the reservation, and P&R number if that is present in the reservation. Okay? Your /vendor column is basically who your itinerary vendor is. Then the name, which is the lead name on that reservation, and issue date if an issue date is present in the item. And they have in brackets B, B for brackets is always going to be branch. You've got vendor payable amount, your customer payable amount, and then what has already been paid to the vendor and what's due to the vendor. So I would assume if you're not necessarily putting any payment terms in, whenever you go into here, your vendor due amount is going to be whatever is payable to the supplier. Put in a deposit, it would show the deposit first, and then it will want to show the balance at a later stage. Okay. To see how much has been paid on the folder as a whole, that is what your the paid column is for, so it's indicating whether or not you've actually taken money on the reservation. Then got your $, I, and I dollar column. So the $, is whether or not the item has an invoice against it. I think I'll need to double check, I can't remember. The I column is telling you whether the item has been invoiced, and then the dollar column is basically telling you whether that item has then been fully paid or not. Okay. The item, then you've got the vendor invoice reference and the invoice currency code if applicable. Again, please select from the same that you do on any of the vendor reconciliation windows. You see this vendor payment amount, so how much you're paying in this instance. You note that the notes of the individual items in the folder, and then it just means it won't display in here if you are auto-recking and you don't want it to be wrecked, and so forth. So, on the bottom half of the page, one bottom on the left-hand side, you've got the total number of items, which is telling you there are 67 items that have been returned to search, and also telling you on the right-hand side, standing total amount, brackets B for branch, which is 3837.95. So this is basically telling you for these items, the total amount that's outstanding to be paid is 3837.95. If that matches the invoice amount, and there are 67 items on the invoice, in principle you could put reference, select it all, and wrap it. It's the principle of how it can work, okay? So, left-hand side, you've got your payment reference field. So can you pop a payment reference there, which from my understanding works very similar to the way that you do your customer payment reference?
Yeah.
Okay, so you then have to the right of that a reconciliation date and also a vendor payment date. What do you do with those dates? Are they the same, or do you change each one?
It's the same day as it's bank. It's all bank day.
Okay, and the reconciliation date and the vendor payment date, are both those dates the same date, or do you have a... Right. That's fine. So the pull behind the dates, the reconciliation date is basically the date that you are hitting the bank, or the date that you're reckoning that as the payment coming out, and then the vendor payment date was interested as a way of being able to record when it was processed in Dolphin. Okay? But if you're doing the same date in both, then you want to all be doing the same thing. So you want to be putting in you said the date that is coming out of your account Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect. Site of your reconciliation date, you've got a pay option, and then there's a drop-down box to the side of that. So your pay options there is deposit stroke balance due, which is the default, which means that the system will automatically select deposit or balance depending on what's loaded into the supplier profile. You set that to full balance, which means it will just assume that the full balance is being paid on all items. You can have the customer payable amount if you'll reconcile the full amount, and then you are going to wait for commission to come back and then reconcile that the commissions come back to you at a later stage. Do you use that as a scenario, ever? Or are you filing your next, basically?
If we just usually do it as a deposit, it doesn't. I can overpayment, but I'll know that I'm going to get the commission back. So it's your customer payable or deposit. I think I'll probably be using customer payable. Yeah, but.
I mean, well, the customer payable is what it's intended for, because rather than you having to overkey different amounts, it means that it's just going to record straight away, ignoring how much you've got in your vendor payable. Whatever's in your customer payable column is automatically going to be what's going to be reconciled, so you're not going to lose any of that value. Because I mean, what you're having to do is overtype the value that's being paid, and having to overtype it to say this is the amount that's coming back. Yeah. So yeah, it's a way of stopping you having to do that, which also means that anybody else going in can see what's happened, whether it's just that you paid the full amount or you've reconciled the amount coming back. Okay.
Yeah.
So click away from that. On this window, so you have the option from here, if you need to, on the left-hand side, you can either view the item or you can view the folder. This allows you to go into the reservation to be able to double-check details. If you've gone into the reservation or folder to double-check details, you'll normally have to refresh the search, just because the system then isn't 100% sure nothing's been changed since it went in and had a look at the information in that way. Right, so in principle, in Dolphin, there are three kinds of payments that you are going to make to a supplier. Okay? One of them would be paying the supplier a balance. So what would one of the other options be? Yep, absolutely. So it's a balance payment to supplier, a deposit to supplier, and then another option in this. It's horrible to word the question in the right way to get that answer. So do you know what the other option is in this window if you're not just paying a deposit or a balance? It's always, well, our original loading is always correct.
They should. But time reviews, like I said before, with the customer payable is if we're waiting for some commission back.
Oh, okay. So here too, the pricing is correct every time.
Yeah.
Okay. For the rarity that something might not be quite spot on, the other option that's available is being able to modify a price before you reconcile it. So if it's out by a few pennies or quite a few quid, or the VAT that's showing on it is incorrect and so forth, it's possible to do that. So let's say that for this payment, do you do these for future or past? So if we were doing something like this today, would it be because money's coming out next week, or would it be that the money came out already last week?
The future ones.
Oh, okay. So let's say that the payment is actually on the 5th of June. So can you change the screen?
Oh, sorry.
It's horrible doing these, but it's the end, towards the end of the month. Things are not quite as easy. So the update will automatically update to the same date as the reconciliation date that you put. Okay? Right, so we are going to say all the ones are a bit rubbish really because there's no cost, so that's not really something we necessarily into that from this perspective. So there is a vendor payable on James Bond's reservation of £10.19. So let's say we are going to pay that in full, or we're going to pay balance payment. Lovely. How would we mark this to be reconciled into?
So generally, it would be the full balance.
Mm-hmm.
So all I would do is just that and reconcile.
And so would you always do one by one, or would you do multiples at some times?
Some principles.
Oh.
Depends which vendor it is.
Perfect. Yep, that's fine. Yeah, you can say yes to that. It's just telling you it's in the future. Or in this, yes. Okay, so the on that one, so when you've expanded line, what you can also see in there is that although when the line's minimised, it's just got the branch or bracket V currency. When you expand it, you've got brackets V for vendor. So it's also telling you that it's in US dollars. So what you see then is based on the item that's originally created, you've got your price, and then you've got your local currency price as well. So let's say on the line below there is a £5 deposit that needs to be. Perfect. So select the line. So you can either select the line by expanding it first, or you can select it from the row up without expanding the line. Select it by default. Dolphin will assume, unless there's payment terms in there, that it is going to be a balance payment. So it will put the whole lot across. You can untick balance, and then it will allow you to edit this payment amount, and you can key in how much money you are recording in this. Okay. Okay. So. How we do the line below? For the line below, we're going to say is actually when we worked it out, it is costing us $12.01, not $12.52.
This one.
That row, but you can't select it.
Unselect this, yeah?
No, that's fine. So, on that one, yeah. So we need to do if the invoices come through and the amount they're asking for is incorrect. So in this instance, obviously it's on a foreign currency, so it might be that the invoices come through and converted it at that point as opposed to in your accounting system. If you select that row and untick that checkbox, and the size, not the balance.
This one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So on the far-hand side, where you've got your buy bracket B, it's got, at the moment, because we haven't selected it, that text is in black. So when you type that 12.52, your branch cost, the bid for it. Yeah, change it to 12.01.
Fine.
Yeah.
What I've now done is it's still converted it based on whatever the exchange rate was at the time of booking, but it's increased that commission as well. So the commission has gone to $1.99 instead. So the price hasn't changed in any way, shape or form because that's been invoiced to the customer. But as the buy's adjusted, the commission will automatically adjust accordingly, so in a profit or a loss. Okay. Big difference. In principle, you can also go into the folder and add another pricing line to adjust the price if you need to do it that way. Depends on how you handle it. But obviously the aim of the reconciliation window like this is you can just overtype prices to be able to do it. So if you find the price, you can then select the row to be able to reconcile it. So now go back and click on select, and read out those buy, commission and sell values. Okay. Now what we're going to do is to reconcile. So at the bottom, we can either, we've got two items selected because one's already been reconciled. It's confirming the net total, the commission total, the sell total, and how much this payment is. Okay. And we click reconcile and it will push it through. Okay. So, let's go and do the same principle, but let's have a look for Royal Caribbean. So, what do we need to do if we want to go back and search for a different supplier?
The search parameters.
Yep. And then enable the search, and then we're able to overtype the information. Okay, so at the display here, we can see that the top row is for one thing, but also a refund that's pending being processed. The reason we've got the figures as a negative. Okay. So, can you process the refund in full? So the amount that they're saying is the correct amount.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So click the parent line or tick select on the line instead. It would automatically tick both rows for rather than you having to do each individual. Yeah.
Yeah, that's sometimes what I like.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I aim to make sure that you're different bits and bobs as opposed to some people get told things and don't know there's another way of doing it. That's all I'm trying to avoid. Okay. Looks like the item underneath is cancelled. So apparently Pablo Picasso is also going on a cruise. There is £150 that is payable